men's lacrosse. Coach, so sorry to keep you waiting there. We had Jim Boeheim on, went a little bit long, but we appreciate your patience.
All good. Appreciate some good Doritos talk during the break.
Well,
for those
that's
asking,
what we got to
I would
ask
go
you.
Cool Ranch.
Cool Ranch, that was the question. Would you rather have regular Doritos or Cool Ranch? Cool Ranch.
So maybe it's not a hot take then by you.
Well, there's two of us so far. Well, we'll see how the poll goes.
I feel like people in the
Honorable
chat agree.
mention to the purple bag, the spicy sweet chili ones. So if you guys haven't had those, you should treat yourself.
I've never had that.
Never tried that before.
Steve wouldn't go anywhere near those.
No, I don't
they have
do
the word
spicy. Yes.
Spicy in them.
Yeah, I don't do spicy. All right, Coach, let's talk some lacrosse. And, obviously it all starts on Sunday. You've got Harvard inside the Dome. Let's, I guess, back up to last week. And you go down to Charlotte with a lot on the line, right? 3-game losing streak. There's talk that you might be on the bubble. You're probably in, but it would be nice to win a game or two, and you go down there and you take care of business. What allowed you guys to get the job done the way that you did last week in the ACC tournament?
I think we treated it like it was Game 7. We didn't want to leave our destiny in anyone else's hands, and obviously, had we not won Friday night, things could have been a little bit more interesting on Sunday. But I thought we did a really good job of playing complementary lacrosse. Friday night we won a game. It was 14-9 before the 5-on-3 locked-in penalty circus at the end of regulation, and then on Sunday winning 9-8. I think we've talked all year about being able to win different types of ways. So I think we showed a lot and learned a lot over the weekend, and in the most important weekend of the year so far.
I think it's easy for us in the media to say, they've got some confidence now. But that would require that, maybe the confidence was shaken after the 3-game losing streak. So I'm going to ask you, do you see a more confident group this week at practice given what happened? Or do you feel as though this team really never wavered in their belief of what they could get accomplished? It was just a matter of going out there and executing.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the confidence has changed at all, to be honest. I think this week it's more gratitude and appreciation for the season continuing on and us earning the right not only to have a game this weekend, but earned another home game. I know last year there was a big gap between our last home game. So now to do it 2 years in a row, and I think the level of focus has ratcheted up. I felt it a little bit last week, and I feel it more this week. The guys know what's at stake, but I wouldn't say the confidence was ever truly shaken. There was a lot of belief. We just knew we were on the wrong side of some close games, and then we were able to sort of flip those scores last weekend.
Another, popular thing you'll hear in the media this week, when you look at storylines is, shot at redemption against, Harvard or payback. Do the guys like the fact that they're going up against an opponent they've already seen and already lost to and a chance to make up for that loss? Or does it truly not matter, who you see this time of year? Or does this one matter maybe a little bit more?
I love the revenge arc. But with that said, we talked about it yesterday. Wanting revenge isn't enough to win the game. We wanted revenge against Cornell from last year, and we know how that game played out. So the narrative has shifted a little bit. As much as we've played them before, and there's a uniqueness to having already played a team, it's more about, can we execute at the highest level for us? And I think Coach March used the phrase, right now Harvard is sort of just the team that happens to be in front of us, and we happen to have played them. But at the end of the day, it's really about controlling what we can, regardless of us playing them already. I think for them, they're probably sitting there saying, well, we were down 5-0. We could have won by more if we were ready to play, right? So, I think it's 2 months later. Both teams are completely different. Both are elite teams. It's who will show up and play best on Sunday, regardless of who they're playing against. Will have a big say in the outcome.
And this team can score. I don't need to tell you that. I was talking with Gary Gate earlier in the week, and he pointed out the fact that Harvard is in the 60s in the country in possession time, but, top 3, top 5, and I believe 5th right now in goals scored, averaging 14 per game, which means they're very, very efficient. What makes them so good on that end of the field and such a challenge for you and your defense to try and slow down?
Yeah, they're absolutely elite offensively. I mean, they face off under 40%, and they're the 3rd most efficient team in the country. We're talking by fractions of percentages behind Cornell at number 1. I'm blanking on number 2 off the top of my head. And then, they're number 5 in goal, or they're number 5 in goals per game. So to face off below 40% and still score 14 plus goals per game, they've only been held to single digits one time. tells you that they're very potent offensively. They have Sam King, who's as a Tewaaraton finalist. Their attack with him, Teddy Malone, and Jack Spidell have combined for 170 points this year. And then it doesn't stop there. I mean, they run 8 midfielders. 5 of them would be a top midfielder at most programs in the country, right? So they just have a ton of talent. They're really athletic, really two-handed, really high-skilled, and they're used to scoring a lot of goals. And I think the challenge is going to be obviously for the whole program, but we definitely have our hands full on our end of the field, and it's our job to limit the damage and do a better job than we did last time. I mean, it's a team, we talk about winning multiple types of ways. It may have to be one where they score double digits and we win, but can we make it less than it was last time? 15 was too many. Can we make it 10? Can we make it 11? Or whatever it takes. It could be, I'll take 18-17, guys. I don't care. I just want to be in Hempstead next weekend. So, can we make enough plays to slow them down? They're just a really potent offense that plays really well together, really complementary. 6 guys at all times could beat you.
I asked you about the revenge factor, the payback factor, and I want to ask you specifically about Jimmy McCool because, going back to that first meeting, he's had a fantastic season. He did not play well that day, obviously. Gave up 10 goals. I think only had 5 saves. Was actually relieved of his duties there in the third quarter. And then all he's done since then is, ACC Goalie of the Year, MVP of the ACC tournament. He's been phenomenal. Can you speak to, I guess, his approach? And have you had any conversations with him one-on-one about keeping his emotions in check for, obviously he's going to want to make up for what happened last time, but, he's got a job to do. And, I guess, how have you seen him grow and evolve over the course of the year since that game?
Yeah, I think Coach Aquaviva has done an incredible job with Jimmy, and I think something we've talked a lot about is sort of the cliche, the goldfish mentality, right? As a goalie, the quote that we say a lot to each other is the ball is dumb and the game is simple. If you see it, save it. If not, try again, right? The ball doesn't have a brain. It's not trying to avoid you, no matter who's shooting it. So, I think Jimmy's done a good job of sort of, he compartmentalizes and puts every game behind him, right? So I don't think that game is any different. I'm sure the competitor in him is excited to have another opportunity to play a team that he played earlier in the year and didn't play his best game. But ultimately, I think it's just doing what he's done all year, and that's regardless of if he makes 20 saves against Notre Dame or he makes 5 saves against Harvard. He knows when the scoreboard turns on at 5:00 Sunday, it's 0-0, and we're back to square one versus a new opponent. And then once that game ends, if we're lucky enough to keep playing, he'll put that behind him regardless of the result.
What do you think this game ultimately comes down to, Coach, on Sunday at 5?
I think for us, it's what we did last weekend in the ACC tournament. I think it's being able to play complementary lacrosse in each phase. I thought we did a great job sort of not getting too high, not getting too low, especially with the biggest stakes of the year, season on the line potentially, and just riding the wave and understanding they're going to make plays. There are no free outs. At this time of year, Harvard is an elite team. They've only lost to top teams, and they've beaten some really good teams too, us included. So, not riding the wave, understanding that they're going to make some plays, we're going to make some plays, but ultimately we've got to control what we can, and that's our effort, our energy, and then ultimately our execution across the board.
Last question for me. You look at the way the season has gone, and it has been an up and down year, right? You start the season number 2, and then you fall out of the top 10, then you're back in the top 10 inside the top 5, then you fall back out of the top 10, and now here you are with a home game, and you see what the path is to the Final Four. Do you think that you guys are better for having gone through some of those trials and tribulations? I guess what I mean is, if the season had been super smooth start to finish, would you feel as prepared as you feel now, having gone through some challenges and adversity along the way?
Yeah, I think the nature of our schedule, I think we finished with the number 2 strength of schedule in the country. And I say to the guys a lot, if it was easy, everyone would do it. I don't think you're going to see teams just run the table and go undefeated. Even Cornell, a team that's as talented and they have generational talent on their team, they lost a strange game to Penn State, where they gave up 4 goals in the last 2 minutes and lost 1 game, right? So every team has faced some adversity, us included. I think you learn a lot more when you lose than when you win, forces you to reflect. And I do like that we've been in playoff mode now for almost 2 full weeks. I think it's important to to understand that, every little detail matters, everything matters, and turn up our execution, turn up our attention to details and things like that. So kind of a long winding answer. I do think we're better off having faced some challenges. And I know we'd all love to just go undefeated and hoist the trophy at the end, but the fun is in the winning, and the winning is hard. So, I think that's what makes it great. At the end of the year, made it great to hoist the ACC trophy because of how hard it was to get there, and how challenging this conference is and how deep it is top to bottom as far as the talent level. So just like that, we need to be able to sort of say, this is a new season. We're 0-0. There's going to be challenges, and let's just embrace each of them as we go. Can't win the national championship this weekend. We can only try to be better than one team, and that's our goal.
Very well said, Coach. We love having you on. 5 o'clock start on Sunday inside the Dome, Syracuse and Harvard. Best of luck. Go get them, and hopefully we're chatting again in the next week or two.
Sounds good. Thank you guys for having me on.
All right. John Odierna joining us here on the program. And with that, we'll hit a timeout. 315-437-7644.
Coming up, we'll give away tickets to Tom Segura. I'm not going to make it tough on people.
All right.
I was told by the salesperson how to do it, so I will do it.
We're doing that next?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just hope that our people answering the phones have two hands ready in order to count. Okay, so that's
okay.
So that's a hint.
Okay.
All right.
So call now. 315-437-7644.